All right. Hi, everybody. We want to get into a little bit of science today. We are talking about, or I got this PowerPoint from Extreme Science. It's just going to be quick. There were a couple of terms that I didn't think we went over in class, but I wanted you guys to be familiar with. And I want to give you an assignment to try this dealing with some of those things as well. And I'm also going to later on give you a video on balancing equations because I wanted to make sure we went over that because I know we went over it, but you may have forgotten some of it. So here we go. So we want to make sure, or you should make sure you understand heat, and heat is the transfer of energy. So you are going to have questions that are going to be focused on how heat affects a particular reaction or affects a chemical, or just how heat works in general. So there are two ways that they're probably going to look at it. One of them is exothermic, and exo, that thing you got to remember, is means leaving, is exiting, hence the word the EX, exit. Exothermic, leaving, the heat is leaving the system. Again, we have evaporation, those kinds of things going on when you're leaving the system. So you got to be familiar with that particular term. Then they're also going to bring in, oh, this is just an example. You guys can have look at that example later, but it's just talking about sodium, metal, and chlorine gas, and basically the chemical reaction that happens. And we're going to talk about chemical reactions in another video because we do want to talk about balancing chemical equations. So we are going to talk about it and show you guys how to do it in case you have those questions. Another one that you have is endothermic. That is the opposite of exo. Endo, E-N, entering, E-N. So you're talking about heat entering or coming in. So when heat comes in, of course, things are going to melt like ice, that kind of stuff. So you got to be familiar with those two terms and make sure you have an understanding of exothermic and endothermic energy. So be mindful of that. And again, they're both just talking about how heat works. You may have something that talks about chemical reactions, and that of course is the process of changing a substance when you bringing in one or two more substances and changing it. So we want to talk about what happens when we have those chemical reactions. Again, we're going to focus more on that when we talk about chemical equations and how we balance them. They don't necessarily want you to be a science genius, just being familiar with the term and how it works. So that's how the chemical reaction is going to work. Being able to understand that it is releasing or absorbing heat, understanding what is being created, that kind of thing when you're looking at the chemical reaction. So pay attention to the way the question is asked because that's going to make the difference when they're looking at that. And again, we will look at how to balance chemical equations because they may ask you about that as well. Also, remember the law of conservation, the law of conservation of energy is just basically telling us that we can transfer the heat, but we're never actually losing. We can transfer the heat, but we're never actually losing the heat. So keep that in mind, and it's looking at that. Now go in depth. Again, it doesn't go in depth. I don't think it may just have a question that's related to that particular definition, but I don't think you have to go any further than that. Okay, you guys? All right. This is just showing you how cold pack work. That's just a little something extra for you guys to look at that's in the PowerPoint. Nothing else for you there, and we'll get back into the other video. Will deal with balancing the equation so you guys can have a look at that so you can see everything connecting together. All right, I'll have the assignment up along with the PowerPoint. You guys have a good one.